The story of Grayson Hall being cast on Dark Shadows is as interesting as her time on the show. Setting the scene, if you will, Dark Shadows debuted on June 27, 1966, as a mysterious story about a young woman who comes to Collinwood to act as a governess for a young member of the Collins family. Her name was Victoria Winters. There was always mysterious music and doors and windows that seemed to open and close on their own. There were hints that there were ghosts, but as the ratings were bringing the show close to cancellation, ghosts and a woman who was a phoenix took the story into the realm of the supernatural. Ratings increased, but more was needed. Executive producer Dan Curtis decided to go for broke and brought on Jonathan Frid as Barnabas Collins, who was a vampire. The storylines shifted to focus more on the Barnabas storyline, away from the Victoria Winters storyline. Meanwhile, in the summer of 1967, finances for the Halls were very tight. Grayson was working, but not finding enough work to support the household, while Sam Hall was unemployed. Their son Matthew Hall remembers that there was a cut in the number of after-school programs he was able to participate in. It had occurred to Grayson and Sam that their current lifestyle might not give them the financial stability that they needed to raise a family, but the solution might have meant that both Grayson and Sam would leave show business. After a lot of pressure from Sam's parents to take over the family business, a rubber glove factory, Sam decides to consider this move. He and Matthew went to Ohio to look into the housing market there. Back in New York, Grayson came home after a busy day of auditions and was literally just stepping into the shower when the phone rang. Remember that in the 1960s there were no answering machines, so having the voicemail pick it up was not an option. Grayson's agent was on the line and asked if Grayson would be interested in auditioning for a 13-week stint as Dr. Julia Hoffman on Dark Shadows. While Grayson had hoped for some time to think about it, her agent said that another actress had been cast but had walked out on the role the day before the part was to begin, so the audition would happen that day. Hours later, Grayson auditioned in a cold, that is, she had no time to prepare before the audition, reading with Dan Curtis. Grayson was cast and sent to rehearsal yet that day for the part, and filmed the next day playing Dr. Julia Hoffman, wearing a wig and a white lab coat. Note to fans: there are many references to the schedule that recount that the cast for the next day's show would assemble to read their scripts before filming took place the next day. Imagine how Grayson might have felt walking into this established group of actors. Another interesting note: R.J. Jameson, who researched extensively before writing the book Grayson Hall, A Hard Act to Follow, did not find any record of who the actress was that left that role. Some fun trivia. Fans will notice that in the episodes before Dr. Hoffman appeared on screen, in episode number 265, there are references to a Dr. Julian Hoffman, a specialist in blood diseases, that they hoped might be able to help Maggie Evans. At this time, Maggie had already been a victim of vampire Barnabas Collins. How things would have been different if fans did not have the interactions and attractions of Barnabas and Julia. In the early months of playing Dr. Julia Hoffman, Grayson used her skills to give more depth to the character. This had always been her approach to a role. Grayson always created a backstory for her characters, which gave her more layers to give to the character than what she was seeing in the scripts. The writers saw this and gave her some interesting scenes as Dr. Hoffman tried to heal Barnabas of his affliction. All of this while she seemed to be falling in love with Barnabas. Dr. Julia Hoffman was supposed to die in an acid bath in Barnabas' basement. The character was so well liked, especially in her interactions with Barnabas, that Grayson's contract was extended and the Halls were able to stay in New York. About 4 months into Grayson's arrival on the show, a technician strike threatened to shut down production because the cast and crew members did not want to cross the picket lines. Grayson was instrumental in convincing her co-workers to cross the picket lines, which they did, and production continued. There were 2 actors in very small parts who refused to cross the picket lines. Some of the actors were fined for crossing, but there is no record that they actually paid the fine. This literally saved Dark Shadows. Dan Curtis held a thank you party for the cast and crew. The Halls, always the entertainers, held an after party at their home. Dan Curtis was talking with Sam Hall and said, "Oh, you're that Sam Hall." He offered Sam a job as a writer on Dark Shadows. Sam thought the alcohol might be talking. He didn't take Dan seriously, so he declined the offer. Within a few days, Dan made the offer again, and Sam joined the Dark Shadows writing staff. This became an amazing time for the Hall family, with Grayson in the cast, Sam writing and employed again, and young Matthew growing up on the sets and behind the scenes.
Can you hear my voice? Can you hear my voice? Don't answer, just nod. Can you hear my voice? Good. Good. Now just concentrate on the light. Raise your right hand. Raise your right hand. Your right hand. Raise your right hand. Very good. Lower your right hand. Do you know who is speaking? Do you know who is speaking to you? What is my name? Do you know who I am? Doctor? Yes, doctor. But do I have a name? What is my name? Doctor. Dr. Hoffman. Dr. Hoffman. Dr. Hoffman. Well, if he is so difficult, why do you work for him?
Perhaps because he wants to. Or perhaps I'm not difficult at all.
I told her no visitors were allowed.
Not rudely, I hope. You must be Miss Hoffman.
Yes, how do you do?
That will be all, Willie, thank you.
Oh, I promised him I'd take full blame for being here. Visitors apparently make him very anxious.
You must forgive Willie. He's a very strange man, but I found him to be a loyal and valuable servant.
You know, of course, why I'm here.
According to Miss Winters, you're doing research on my family and would like access to my library.
Yes, and to any personal knowledge that you might have, if you don't mind.
Well, it isn't a matter of minding, Miss Hoffman. And I certainly feel that your project is extremely interesting.
Oh, then I can count on your cooperation.
I'm afraid not.
Oh? If you think it's interesting.
But my opinion in this case does not affect my decision. And my decision is no.
Good evening, Barnabas Collins. I've been waiting for you for a long time. A long, long time.
Have you?
Yes.
Why?
Because I know what you are.
What do you mean you know what I am?
You are Barnabas Collins. The only Barnabas Collins, who died over 130 years ago.
That's an absurd statement.
Don't try to deny it. I've investigated you thoroughly, and I've seen you in your coffin.
Have you?
Yesterday, at dawn.
You realize that such knowledge puts you in great danger.
Well, of course, that's why I took the precaution of putting a dummy in the bed.
But you didn't take the precaution of getting as far away from here as possible.
Oh, because what I need is here.
What is it you want?
You.
I don't know what you mean, but it doesn't matter. Because I am going to kill you.
It's empty. Empty coffin. What does it mean? Miss Hoffman.
Carolyn, why are you here?
Oh, I was about to ask you the same question.
This is no time for questions. Just go now.
But this coffin, why is it here? What does it mean?
I can't tell you that now.
But it's here, just the way David described it. Why?
Just don't ask any questions. Just go now before it's too late.
It's already too late. What are you doing here, Carolyn?
I came to see Cousin Barnabas.
And now you see him.
But you can't be Barnabas.
But I am.
But what's happened to your face? You're so old.
It won't be old much longer. You may scream all you want, but no one will hear you. Now, don't be afraid of me, my dear. I'm not going to hurt you. I wouldn't do anything to hurt my own flesh and blood.